I'm the warrior chief. You fuck with me, and you will suffer my wrath.
Did you know Tom Berenger almost made Hollywood history twice before his real breakthrough even happened? He was this close to playing Indiana Jones, and he nearly grabbed a major part in Platoon before landing the one that turned him into a star. At one point, he was lined up to play Sergeant Elias, the same role that eventually went to Willem Dafoe. That alone proves how incredible his range was. Two completely different characters, totally different vibes, in the same movie. It said everything about Berenger's edge as an actor. He was intense, unpredictable, and impossible to box in. Studios didn't quite know what to do with him because he could morph into anyone. So what really happened to Tom Berenger? Let's pull the curtain back. Born Thomas Michael Moore on May 31st, 1949, in Chicago, Illinois, Berenger grew up in a traditional Irish Catholic household where loyalty, discipline, and hard work ruled every day. His father worked at the Chicago Sun-Times, and that grounded, blue-collar energy stayed with him for life. It shaped how he moved, how he spoke, and even how he approached every role he took on. After studying journalism at the University of Missouri, he tried his hand as a copy editor, but something inside him just didn't click. The newsroom felt too small for his creative fire. Deep down, he knew storytelling was in his blood, but not from behind a desk. So he packed up and made a bold leap to New York City, diving headfirst into acting training and never looking back. Through the early 1970s, Tom Berenger was grinding it out in regional theater and popping up in soap operas, including a stint on One Life to Live. It didn't take long before Hollywood started paying attention to that intense stare and raw presence he brought to every scene. By 1977, he landed a small but unforgettable role in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, playing a dangerously seductive one-night stand opposite Diane Keaton, and that performance turned heads fast. Then came The Dogs of War in 1980, where Berenger shared the screen with Christopher Walken, proving he could handle hard-hitting, physical roles with serious grit. Just a few years later, he switched it up completely in The Big Chill, 1983, playing Sam Weber, a moody TV actor reconnecting with old college friends. It was quiet, emotional work that hinted at something deeper beneath his rugged surface, a sensitivity that could surprise you when you least expected it. But his true breakthrough was right around the corner, and it would throw him straight into cinematic chaos. In 1986, Berenger took on the role that completely redefined his image and cemented his place in movie history. Oliver Stone's Platoon wasn't just another war film. It was real, raw, and deeply emotional, built from the director's own experiences as a Vietnam veteran. Originally, Berenger was cast as Sergeant Elias, the story's moral core. But in a last-minute twist, Stone flipped the script and asked him to play the scarred, unpredictable Sergeant Barnes instead. That change shocked everyone, but Berenger didn't blink. He dove in headfirst with icy precision and total control. What came out of it was chilling. A character who wasn't just a villain, but a walking symbol of how war can twist the human spirit. Barnes felt like a soldier haunted from the inside out, a man whose soul was torn apart long before the fighting ever stopped. Berenger played him with razor-sharp intensity, every pause and glare carrying more weight than any explosion could. That performance became one of the most haunting and unforgettable of the 1980s, earning him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Even at Barnes's coldest moments, Berenger never went over the top. He let silence and stillness do the damage, and that made it hit 10 times harder. The late 80s were a powerhouse stretch for Tom Berenger, and he came in swinging with back-to-back hits that proved his range was no accident. In 1988, he joined forces with the legendary Sidney Poitier in Shoot to Kill, a tense survival thriller that kept audiences holding their breath. That same year, he starred in Betrayed as an FBI agent opposite Deborah Winger, showing that he could balance tough authority with real emotional depth. And just before those, Berenger stepped into Ridley Scott's sleek, noir-style thriller, Someone to Watch Over Me, in 1987, a moody, stylish film that added a spark of romantic tension to his growing list of talents. It wasn't a massive box office hit, but it revealed a different side of him, soft-spoken, conflicted, and torn between duty and desire. It's one of those underrated gems that hits differently when you revisit it today. You suddenly realize how much quiet strength and control Berenger brought to every scene. Then came the move no one saw coming, a total curveball that flipped his career momentum overnight. After years of playing in heavy dramas and morally complex roles, Berenger surprised everyone in 1989 when he stepped into the hilarious chaos of Major League. He showed the world he wasn't just intense. He could be funny, relaxed, and completely magnetic on screen. Playing Jake Taylor, a washed-up catcher trying to rally a ragtag baseball team of misfits, Berenger gave the film its beating heart. Jake was bruised, tired, and tangled up in a messy love story with Rene Russo. But he also carried the emotional weight of the team, the glue holding all the madness together. Audiences went wild for it. The film's humor, energy, and rebellious spirit made it an instant classic. But beneath all the laughs, Berenger kept things grounded. He brought soul and quiet strength to the middle of the chaos, making Jake Taylor one of the most relatable sports heroes of that era. That moment cracked open a whole new lane for Berenger as the early 90s rolled in. Suddenly, he wasn't just the guy from Platoon. He was the everyman, the tough but loyal dad, the cop under pressure, the mentor holding a shaky team together. He didn't need to yell or overact. His calm presence commanded attention every single time. It was his golden era, filled with hits, near hits, and respected performances that kept his name glowing across Hollywood. Still, even as his career looked unstoppable, small cracks were beginning to form beneath the surface. By the early 90s, Berenger had locked into his sweet spot. Those stoic, quietly powerful men standing tall in explosive situations, and it was clear Hollywood had found one of its most grounded leading men. Tom Berenger became known for playing characters who carried that heavy moral weight right in their eyes. He was never the loudest man in the room, but he always felt like the one who could walk through chaos without flinching. That calm, dangerous energy hit its peak in 1993 with Sniper, where he played Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Beckett, a battle-hardened Marine sniper partnered with a rookie, played by Billy Zane, on a lethal mission through the Panamanian jungle. Directed by Luis Loza, who would later make Anaconda, the film didn't blow critics away at first, but action fans ate it up. It was gritty, slow-burning, and surprisingly deep. Sniper wasn't just another shoot-'em-up. It explored the mental and emotional toll of what it means to take a life from far away. Berenger's haunted, exhausted performance gave it real soul, turning what could have been a simple action flick into something that stuck with people. The film became a quiet hit, strong box office numbers, huge success on VHS and cable, and it eventually evolved into a full-blown franchise. Berenger returned for 4 sequels over the years, proving that Sniper had become one of the most enduring cornerstones of his career. Not bad for a movie that nearly slipped under the radar when it first dropped. Just 3 years later, Berenger brought that same fierce focus into a whole new battleground. In The Substitute, 1996, he took on one of his boldest roles yet, Jonathan Shale, a former mercenary who goes undercover as a teacher to take down a gang threatening his girlfriend's school. Yeah, the setup was wild, but it landed perfectly in the middle of the mid-1990s craze for gritty school dramas like Dangerous Minds. Except this time, Berenger's character wasn't quoting poetry. He was throwing punches and charging straight into danger to protect the people he cared about. Critics were split, but audiences didn't hesitate. They showed up strong. The film pulled solid numbers and became a huge hit on home video, especially among fans who loved old-school revenge thrillers packed with explosive energy. It was rough, it was wild, and it made no apologies. And Berenger gave it everything he had. That total commitment sold every scene and reminded people why he stood out in the first place. By then, it was clear. Tom Berenger had quietly become a full-fledged action star, even though he never tried to market himself as one. Between adrenaline-fueled hits like Sniper and The Substitute and heavier prestige roles like Gettysburg, where he portrayed Confederate General James Longstreet with striking emotional depth, Berenger had proven he could do it all. Drama, war, action, or emotion. He carried it all with that same grounded power that made audiences believe every moment. Tom Berenger carved out his own lane in Hollywood. He wasn't chasing trophies or obsessed with breaking box office records. He just showed up, did the work, and earned loyal fans one gritty role at a time. By the end of the 1990s, he'd become one of the most recognizable tough guy faces in the industry. Not necessarily the explosive blockbuster lead, but that reliable presence you'd spot in a late-night cable rerun or on a worn VHS cover and think, yeah, this one's worth watching. But once the 2000s rolled in, everything started changing fast. The industry was shifting towards slick CGI effects, massive set pieces, and flashy superhero-style action. Suddenly, Berenger's blue-collar, old-school energy felt like something from another time. The era of gritty, grounded realism was fading, and so were the kinds of meaty roles that had defined his rise. As the decade went on, the spotlight dimmed a little. The big-budget war dramas, serious thrillers, and prestige releases that used to be his playground started drying up. Still, Berenger never disappeared. He just moved differently. He kept working non-stop in smaller projects, TV movies, and indie thrillers like True Blue, Stiletto, and Breaking Point. Even when the budgets were tight, he treated every project with the same focus and intensity that made people respect him in the first place. Whether he was playing a detective, a hitman, or a battle-scarred veteran, Berenger never phoned it in. That same calm authority and emotional honesty were always there. He even revisited familiar territory by returning for Sniper 2 and Sniper 3. The sequels didn't make huge waves in theaters, but fans loved that he stayed loyal to the role and kept the franchise alive. Behind the scenes, there were whispers too. Rumors that his name floated around for major films like Training Day or Jarhead. Nothing ever confirmed, but the fact that casting directors still talked about him said everything. He might have been flying under the radar, but the respect never left. It was like he was waiting for the right moment, the perfect project to pull him back into the big leagues. And that moment finally came, from a completely unexpected direction. In 2010, legendary director Christopher Nolan cast him in Inception, one of the biggest films of the decade. Berenger played Peter Browning, the advisor and father figure to Cillian Murphy's character, Robert Fisher. And though his screen time was limited, every scene hit with quiet power. In a movie overflowing with mind-bending visuals and layered dreamscapes, Berenger brought calm and depth. His performance was steady, emotional, and deeply human, a grounding force in all that chaos. Critics noticed too. Many called his casting a brilliant, throwback choice, a respectful nod to the generation of actors who built their reputations on raw talent and real emotion rather than special effects. Even the AV Club pointed out how surreal, but exciting, it was to see Tom Berenger suddenly appear again in such a massive studio blockbuster. After years of carrying entire films on his back, he shifted into sharp, grounded supporting roles that radiated quiet confidence, the kind of vibe only seasoned pros can pull off. Christopher Nolan later explained why he chose him for Inception, saying they wanted someone who carried instant familiarity and emotional depth. And that's exactly what Berenger brought the moment he appeared on screen. You just trusted him. His presence carried history, experience, and mystery all at once. That kind of natural respect can't be faked. It's earned. Inception wasn't designed to turn him back into a leading man, and it didn't need to. What it did was remind everyone that Tom Berenger still had incredible power on screen. No showboating, no over-the-top tricks, just pure, quiet command. For younger audiences who didn't grow up watching his earlier hits, his performance sparked real curiosity. People were suddenly asking, who is this guy and why is he so good? After Inception, Berenger didn't rush into another round of blockbusters, but that role clearly reopened a few doors. In 2012, he took on a major part in the Emmy-winning miniseries Hatfields and McCoys, acting alongside Hollywood heavyweights like Kevin Costner and Bill Paxton. As Uncle Jim Vance, Berenger brought a chilling sense of calm danger, a man hardened by loyalty and loss, and critics instantly took notice. Many called it one of his most powerful performances in years, and that role finally earned him a long-overdue Primetime Emmy Award. He also returned to familiar ground, stepping back into the Sniper franchise with Sniper, Legacy, and later, Sniper, Assassin's End. Even though these films weren't massive theatrical releases, Berenger approached them like they were, treating every scene with care and giving longtime fans the sense of loyalty and continuity they loved. Alongside those projects, he kept showing up in indie films and occasional TV roles, never chasing fame, never trying to force a comeback, just staying steady and consistent. Every time he appeared, he reminded people why his name still carried weight in Hollywood. Off-screen, Berenger has lived a full, fascinating life. Married 4 times, father to 6 children, and known for keeping his private world quiet and grounded. He's the rare actor who doesn't need headlines to prove anything. His work speaks loud enough on its own. As the years rolled on, Tom Berenger settled comfortably into a new chapter of his life and career, one built on experience, humility, and quiet strength. He no longer needed to prove himself. His legacy was already solid. But what made him stand out even more in his later years was how gracefully he embraced change while staying true to what made him special in the first place. In interviews, Berenger has often reflected on how Hollywood evolved around him. The industry that once celebrated gritty, character-driven stories had transformed into a machine of franchises, fast edits, and digital worlds. Yet, instead of complaining, he adapted in his own way, choosing smaller, meaningful roles that spoke to who he was, both as an artist and as a person. He said more through silence and subtlety than most actors could with an entire monologue. Fans continued to admire that he never chased relevance or fame. While many of his peers jumped from trend to trend, Berenger chose substance over spotlight. Whether playing a weathered cop, a father trying to hold his family together, or a veteran carrying invisible scars, he always brought that grounded realism that drew people in. Every performance reminded audiences that authenticity still mattered in a business that often forgets what that looks like. Outside the screen, Berenger's life reflected that same steady balance. He kept his circle small, focused on family, and stayed out of Hollywood's wild social scene. His 6 children often describe him as a private but devoted dad, someone who valued peace more than attention. Over time, he became somewhat of a mystery figure in the industry, respected, admired, but rarely seen at red carpets or talk shows, and that only added to his quiet legend. Even now, in his 70s, Berenger's name still sparks nostalgia and respect. Younger generations discover his films through streaming, while longtime fans revisit classics like Platoon, The Big Chill, and Sniper, realizing how timeless his work still feels. He represents an era of acting where grit and emotion came before spectacle, when characters felt human, flawed, and real. And maybe that's the secret to his longevity. Tom Berenger never chased fame. He earned it, piece by piece, through honest performances that hit where it counts. His career stands as proof that you don't have to be the loudest to be remembered. You just have to be true to the craft. In a town full of noise, he stayed steady, sharp, and sincere. And that's exactly why, decades later, his presence still commands quiet respect. What we do know is that Tom Berenger has always cared deeply about more than just movies. He's someone who values history, education, and leaving something meaningful behind. He even founded the Tom Berenger Acting Scholarship, created to help young theater students chase their artistic dreams and build confidence in an industry that can often feel unforgiving. That one gesture says everything about who he really is: quietly generous, thoughtful, and dedicated to giving back without needing to announce it to the world. These days, Berenger reportedly splits his time between South Carolina and Utah, enjoying a slower, quieter rhythm of life, far from the flashing lights and chaotic noise of Hollywood. He's traded red carpets for mountain air, studio lots for quiet mornings, and late-night premieres for simple peace of mind. He's found comfort in routine, privacy, and purpose, living life on his own terms rather than the industry's. Still, even a man as private as Berenger couldn't completely escape the drama that tends to follow fame. Back in 2012, he got caught up in a legal dispute involving a former spouse and property matters, a rare occasion when his personal life made its way into the public spotlight. It wasn't explosive or messy. He handled it with quiet dignity. While others might have fueled the gossip mill, Berenger did the opposite. He stayed calm, trusted the process, and kept his focus on what mattered most: his family, his work, and his peace. That's something that has always defined him. Tom Berenger doesn't react to chaos. he moves through it with grace. His steady, composed energy is the same quality that's carried him through Hollywood's unpredictable highs and lows. For decades, he has stayed consistent, grounded, and loyal to who he is. That's rare in an industry that loves reinvention and reinvention again. Now, when you look at the bigger picture of Berenger's career, you realize just how underrated his story really is. He might not always be the first name that comes up when people talk about the great American actors, but he absolutely deserves a place in that conversation. Because while others chased fame, trends, or awards, Berenger chased truth, the kind of emotional honesty that doesn't fade over time. Think about it. From the 80s through the 90s, he was everywhere, bringing something authentic and powerful to every role he touched. In Platoon, he became the embodiment of internal conflict, a soldier shattered by war, but hardened by survival. In The Big Chill, he revealed a softer, more introspective side. In Major League, he showed heart and humor, proving he could lead a comedy just as effortlessly as a war epic. And in Sniper, he delivered quiet power, turning a military thriller into a character study about endurance and isolation. Every time he stepped onto the screen, he gave audiences something real. He never relied on flash or gimmicks. Instead, he built characters that felt lived in, men with scars, doubts, and moral complexity. That was Berenger's trademark. He didn't just act. He made you feel the weight behind every stare, every pause, every whispered line. And it's not just fans who noticed. Many directors and co-stars have praised his ability to command a scene without needing to dominate it. He could be surrounded by chaos and still hold attention with a single look. That quiet magnetism made him unforgettable, even in supporting roles later in his career. When he appeared in Christopher Nolan's Inception, critics and audiences alike were reminded of just how powerful he still was. In a film filled with high-tech effects and layered dreamscapes, Berenger grounded the story with warmth, empathy, and emotional tension. It wasn't a comeback. It was a reminder that talent like his never fades. Younger viewers who didn't grow up watching his earlier films suddenly wanted to know more. Who is this guy? And why does he feel so familiar? That curiosity reignited a wave of appreciation for his entire body of work. Soon after, his Emmy-winning performance in Hatfields and McCoys cemented his place once again among Hollywood's most respected veterans. As Uncle Jim Vance, Berenger was cold, commanding, and heartbreakingly human, all at once. Critics praised him for one of his most layered performances, and fans saw a side of him that reminded them why he'd been one of the best all along. Even as the years have gone by, Berenger has never disappeared. He continues to appear in smaller films, independent projects, and the occasional TV role, always committed, always professional. And he stayed loyal to his roots, returning several times to the Sniper franchise, keeping that legacy alive for longtime fans. While Hollywood trends come and go, Berenger has become something timeless, a steady force of craft and authenticity. Off-screen, his life reflects the same values that made him who he is. He's a family man, a father of 6, and someone who prefers private moments over public attention. You won't see him chasing headlines or stirring controversy because he's already found what matters: peace, purpose, and a lasting legacy that speaks for itself. Looking back now, his story reads like a masterclass in longevity. Tom Berenger didn't build a career out of hype. He built it out of heart. He taught audiences that you don't need to be the loudest or flashiest to leave a mark. Sometimes the most unforgettable performances come from the quietest power, the kind that stays with you long after the credits roll. So, while newer generations might associate Hollywood legends with big franchises or flashy awards, those who know the craft remember something deeper. They remember actors like Tom Berenger, solid, fearless, and real, the kind of actor who doesn't just perform a role, but lives it, breathes it, and brings it to life with raw emotion. If you've made it this far into his story, thank you for watching and for keeping the memory of this incredible talent alive. Drop your thoughts below. What's your favorite Tom Berenger role or moment? Don't forget to hit that like button if this brought back memories. Share it with someone who loves classic Hollywood storytelling. And of course, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the stars who shaped cinema history. See you in the next one.